Okay, so today I'm gonna start doing wiring. Woo! So I have the GM harness roughed in. It's all plugged in. There's a few things that I absolutely hate, like this thing is, I could put this back up in my lap and it would reach. So I've got to change this. I'm going to shorten this up so it plugs into the map sensor without an extra 18 inches of wire. There's a few others, like the O2 sensors. I've got to route them a little better so that they're safe and not gonna, they have the appropriate length. So first thing I'm gonna do is go through and shorten up a bunch of these cables that need to be reworked. And then I've got some modifications to the fuse box I want to use. I'm gonna take my fuse box, I'm gonna use it. So instead of having a bunch of independent relays floating around, I'm gonna route everything through the fuse box like the factory did. Not in 1967, but certainly at that time frame. So I'm gonna start with, just like I said, I'm just gonna slowly work my way through all these wires on the GM harness, get that buttoned up. Then I'll start on the AC wiring and get that into the fuse box, and then I will convert over to I'll probably do actually before that, I'll probably do the feed system. So all the battery terminals and wires, that stuff should all be here today at some point. So anyway, gonna start in with that. Did see one little tiny drip on my brake line in there. My paper towel trick worked. I found a leak in the bottom of the return line on the power steering hose. When you put that hose up into the fitting actually slides into the hose, into the PTFE side of the hose, and then the ferrule goes around it and locks it in. Well, on those larger hoses like this AN10, it's very easy to pull a corner, and I had like a little droop on one side of that where the PTFE got sucked down, and it wasn't nice and flat around the ferrule. So I straightened that out, and the leak came right out of it. So pretty confident I got that, and I filled it back up, and there's no more drips. So anyway, getting back to this, I'm going to go through and shorten up some cables, dress this up a little better, tighten up my my whole engine harness, and then move on to probably battery feed. All right, next day. So I got all the other cables dressed out, shortened up. The only thing I have still is the transmission speed sensor, which I don't think I'm going to use, but I got to do a little bit more research on that. So this fuse box, found a really interesting YouTube site on LS Swaps, working on it. You can see the link in my on my homepage. But those guys, this guy and his son, did some nice work. They were putting an LS swap into an 80 Camaro and used pretty much the same harness, a lot of the same equipment I did. Worked out really well. But one of the things that was super handy on that particular one of those videos was they just went through in detail how to modify this. You can see it's a little confusing, but what they pointed out, which was actually super important, was there are a couple of problems with the way this comes. Number one, the power and ground to activate these relays are reversed on two of them. So, which isn't a big deal on most relays, but if you get a relay with a diode, you'll burn it up. So gonna fix that while I'm in there. I'm gonna add two more relays, one for the AC unit. I'm gonna take the relay out of the vintage air system, and I'm gonna route it through here, and then I'm gonna put in a relay for a second fan, which I will put up front in front of the condenser coil. So that way, and I have a number of options on how I can control it. I can control it just when the AC is on, or I can use it in conjunction with the fan on the radiator, which is probably what I will do, just because of, just extra flow. So I will turn them both on when the AC is on. I think that's a better solution. So I'm going to dig into this a little bit. First thing I'm going to do, this is the expansion bulkhead they give you. It has a few signals that you might want to use. I'm not sure I need any of them yet. Everything I need is already wired and brought back into the cabin, into the cockpit, under the dash. Obviously it has some nice big fuel pump and cooling fan wires already installed. So we're going to replicate that and run some more for the AC unit and the additional fan we're putting in. So also got some of these maxi fuses. Interestingly enough, I ordered some 10s. They're not here, although they say they were delivered. So it's very possible I've inadvertently stacked them on some other junk. So anyway, I'm going to dig into this and I'll kind of show you what I'm into. I've made a schematic. If you're really interested in getting down to the nitty gritty, I would highly recommend that other channel, Working on It. Those guys, he did an excellent job of explaining how this is rigged up and how it works, and I'll do my best.
Okay, let's see how this goes. So first thing I want to do is start reworking for the relays a little bit. This is a Bosch relay, single pole, single throw, just a very basic relay. So the first thing you got to do with these things is pull out these little clips, and I've already released that one. And these clips just kind of hold all the terminals in place. This one out. You just got to kind of squeeze in the little tangs here and push them through. Come on. There we go. Here. All right, so there's two of them, and the third one is over here on the maxi fuses. Same story. Squeeze that and push it through. Okay. So we'll keep all those set aside, and we should be good. Now, first thing I see that I really dislike, I don't dump them on the floor, step on them, break them, that stuff. The thing that I really don't like is this ridiculously long jumper right here. This is just silly. But I'm wondering, I need a couple more anyway, so I'm wondering if I can use those, cut them in half, and still make it to where it needs to go, which would be here to here, here to here. I think it can be done. Might be tight, but it can be done. So I'm going to try that, see what happens. Let me dig into that a little bit, and I'll bring you back. But like I said, one of the things that needs to happen first is I've got to swap a couple of the pins around, specifically on the PT main relay. And this is my schematic I drew up. I'll share that with you. But on the PT main relay, I got to swap the plus and minus. So that's one of the first things that needs to happen. And I've also got to do that down on fan 1. So the coil plus and minus is technically backwards. Doesn't really matter in this application, but if you ever you're in a pinch and you had to swap that relay out for something different, you'd be in a world of hurt. So you'd burn stuff up pretty readily. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to swap those around just so that everything is happy. And I'll show you what I'm into. Okay, so the way you get these larger maxi fuse, I happen to have one here. You can see the little tang on it right here. You just have to push that down. You have to do it from the fuse side, and you literally just push it in here, feel around until you feel that little tang, and slide it out. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange the fuses a little bit too, which also might help me with the length of this wire, because I could bring it over here and make up some. So let me have a look at that first. Okay, there's really nothing special about crimping these on. You just have a double-barreled set of crimpers. I like to put the terminal in the crimpers first, just so I have it kind of held in place. Give it like one click, just hold it in there. Then I'll feed my wire through. Get rid of this tape first. That says fan. So then you just feed that through like this. Get it through there until it's in the right position, then crimp it home. Now that's a 10 gauge wire. You can actually measure, if you have a metal gauge, sheet metal gauge tool, same thing, gauge is gauge. So that's a 10 gauge wire for reference. This is the fuel pump, this is the fan. I'm going to move the fuel pump down to maxi fuse number 8. And I'm going to redo this printout in here anyway, so that, not bound by that, but it'll just make my wiring flow go a lot easier if I do it this way. Okay, and then the tang, if you remember, goes in this way. So the tang has to be pointed out. Click. And then I'm going to put fan 1 right here in position 7. Fair enough. I'm going to put some, I will put some protection over this bus bar right here. This is a 12 volt constant bus bar. So I will, I'll just put something over it so it doesn't slice into this. Not that it matters, but, well, it will matter because that would be unfused if it did. So now I end up with 2 pieces of wire now that I can use for my 2 new relays and feed them from the maxi fuse as well. So let me kind of hunt through some of that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did confirm that the fan 1 relay and the PT main relay were swapped. I was a little confused there for a second because I had drawn my bottom of my relay from the top of the relay instead. So anyway, we're good. Next thing I need to do is, this is the control lead to fan 1. I've got to add a 3rd wire to this, so I'm going to cut it right off. And strip those back. Now, I need a piece of wire that's either blue or green, which I don't seem to have right here. So, hang on 1 second. So, okay, so I got the extra trinary wire coming out. This is going to go to the trinary switch to turn the second fan on, well, both fans on. So I just left this spooled up so I can run the right amount and get it up front. Next, I've got to power my 2 new relays. So this is the relay power lead. It's kind of spliced together as a spider here. So I'm going to cut off the one leading over to the far relay, which is the, what is that? PT main. I'm going to slice that off, splice on 2 other wires, and make that like a little junction, just like they did here from the factory. So I'm going to take that. See if I can pull it out, make it a little easier to work on. Strip it back. Yeah, more than that. Okay. Then I got a spare piece of pink wire from some other work I was doing here on the shortening up things on the harness. Happen to have a pink one. Pink generally stands for switched 12 volts. Okay, let me just get these all twisted up. Yeah, nice. Let me untwist them. Twisted wires don't generally pair up as good as untwisted wires. So I'll just untwist them. Don't know why I did that in the first place. Just tightens them up too much to want to be happy going together. So I'm going to take these. I just loop that. That way when I cut it off, I can cut off either side of it. It doesn't matter. I've got to put ends on it anyway. Actually, I'm going to need 3, not 2. So much for that idea. Now, we'll just leave those all loose like that. Twist them up. Now I'll get a splice. Okay, let's try this again, but less stupid. All right, I'm going to use a, okay, cut. So I have to feed my two new relays. Pink is generally switched ignition. So I've got some extra pink wire here. I've made up 3 new leads, pulled one out of one of the existing relays. It, again, will be one of the ones that I have to feed now. Twist those together and just put a little ferrule over it and crimp it with the ferrule tool. It's about the easiest way to do something like this. So now that's crimped. That's not coming off there. So what I'll do now is I'll just slide some heat shrink over that, put 3 ends on, and feed those 3 relays. Okay, so there's my 3 power feeds. One for the existing one, which will go here. And one each for the two new relays. One here. Being conscious to make sure you get those on the right lead. And this one goes here. Okay, so that's my new fan 2 and AC relays powered. Now, where did that one go? Okay. Okay, I think I got it all sorted out now. I've double checked each one. Everything's got connections. It all looks right. So the way this is going out is this is the compressor feed. It has to go through the trinary switch, however. This is my fan 2 feed. Okay. Fan 1 is still a stub here. I've got to lengthen that. My feed in dark blue here turns on the compressor feed, so it's an active low turning on this relay. Then I've got the light blue coming in from the trinary switch, which turns on the fan. So I think that does it. All right, I'm going to lengthen these now, get these sorted out so that they come out of the harness properly. That's the fuel pump and the other fan, the original fan. So I'll get both of those sorted out now.
Okay, so I got the fuse box tidied up and back snapped in. You can see I've started to run where my harness is going to go. What I generally do is I'll just sit there and tape that with masking tape until I'm ready to sheath it. Run it around the front here. Picked up my two fans. This fan is a cold case, but it's meant to run forward or reverse, and I believe the only thing you have to do is reverse the polarity. That's why that's reversed. My trinary switch is hooked up, and then I ran a wire back and picked up the compressor from the trinary switch. So I think that part of it's done now. Next thing, and I've also mounted up a couple things. Took me a while. I had to mount up this fan for the AC coil. Again, that's just a secondary fan, but I've got them running in parallel, so if one comes on, they both come on. It's just a easy way to do it. You could set it up so that this one only runs when the AC's on, but you know, why not? If it's going to require cooling, it's going to require cooling. So I've also mounted up a block right here for my ground block, and then I'm going to do power distribution off from this, and my power block is back here. Also put a couple of MIDI fuses on the firewall, and for the alternator, we'll be fed through one of those back to the battery, and that will also feed the bus bar in the under the dash. So there's a constant on bus bar under the dash. There's also a switched with ignition relay that's going to be fed by this, but that'll be the next video, is the power distribution. I might have to move my catch can over just a hair. It looks like my lid's going to be a little tight, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. That was quite a bit of work, but what slowed me down the most was just mounting this fan. It took me a little bit. I had to make some special little brackets to pick up the points on the coil, and then yeah, so is what it is. So that's in. Trinary switch is wired back through to the compressor. Again, this Trinary switch turns on the fans when the AC's on, and it turns on the, if it has pressure, it allows the compressor to engage. If this does not have proper pressure in it, the compressor does not engage. So that's what the Trinary switch is for. So anyway, feeling all right about that. I'm gonna pull this battery out tomorrow, vacuum up. I got some shavings down in there I got to get cleaned up. Then I'll put the battery back in and start wiring my battery leads to the various blocks and show you how I do that. So that's about it for now.